Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Baxter, and I thought what I would do is I needed to update my videos here, but I thought we could do a quick example or two on this new worksheet for today. I will be showing up into class here in the next 45 minutes, so see how far you can get with this, and then we will do a couple more examples or I will help you through them. But please, there are a couple of your classmates who do know how to do this, so please talk to each other and ask for help. Even if though it seems like a simple, silly question, it's not. I want to make sure that you guys know how to do this because we are going to have our quiz later this week. I was going to try to do our quiz tomorrow, so please make sure that you are working through this. Okay, so before we go into the one or two examples on this worksheet, I'm going to do just a different example. Make sure you have your factoring cheat sheet with you so that you can follow along. Okay, so in this example, what was it? I think Wednesday is when we first started looking at, well, what's the GCF, or the greatest common factor, between two different terms? Well, now we're combining those terms into an equation, so now we have something like 4x, and we have the number 2, and we have to find the greatest common factor for both of those, but we also you have to tell me what is left over in parentheses, okay? So let's do this very simple equation as an example. So if you look up the number 4 and the number 2 on your worksheet, you're going to see that 4 has both 1 times 4 and 2 times 2 in the box. And then for 2, you're just going to see 1 times 2. Well, looking at that, you can compare and say, oh, well, 2 is the greatest common factor for both of those. So we're going to put the number 2 right here, okay? Now I'm going to be looking at the letters. Well, this one has an X, but this one does not. So we can't take an X out as a GCF. Okay, so our GCF is 2. That's it. 2 is our GCF, okay? Now what you need to do is tell me what is left over on the inside for each of the terms. So if I take 4 and I divide it by 2, what am I left with? Well, I should have a 2 and I have an X, okay? If I divide my 2 by 2, well, divided by 2 is 1. So my final answer is 2x plus 1. Now, the secret is to go back and say, well, if I were to distribute my 2 to everything inside the parentheses, will I get 4x plus 2? Well, let's find out. If I do 2 times 2x, I'm going to get 4x. If I do 2 times 1, I'm going to get 2. So this checks out, okay? All right. Let's try an example on the worksheet together, okay? I did a little more explaining than I normally would here, but I want to make sure that you have these steps. If you need to pause and go back to the beginning and hear this a little bit slower or just see it again, please do so, okay? All right, so let's do problem number 1 together. And in this case, I'm going to be comparing my two numbers on my cheat sheet. Let's compare 2 and let's compare 10. What is the largest factor or largest number that they both share? Well, when I compare the two numbers, I have, I'm going to have, give me a second. Come on. 2 and 1, right? And in 10, I'm going to have 1, 10, 2, and 5. So these 2's are the largest factor that they both share, okay? So my 2 is my GCF. I cannot take an X and an X. There's not an X in both, so those are what are left over. They have to stay there. Let's do our parentheses. If I divide 2x by 2, well, these cancel out to 1. I'm just left with X left over, plus 10 divided by GCF is 5. And that's it. This is my final answer right here. Okay. Let's do one that has more variables in it so that you can see what that might look like. So let's go down to number 3. All right, well, in this case, let's do our number first. What's our GCF for 5 and 30? Look that up on your factor table. I'm going to give you a minute here if you want to just pause it first and see. I will give you a hint while you're looking. Usually, I start with my smallest number. If you look at your GCF table, your cheat sheet, you know that 1 and 5 work out to multiply together to get 5. And for 30, you should see 1 and 30, 2 and 15, let's see, and so on. Let's see, 3 and 10, I think that's it, okay? So when I'm comparing these, let's see, oh, and 5 and 6, right? When I'm comparing these, 5 and 5 are going to be your largest common factor. Okay, so 5 comes on the outside. Now that we have letters involved, remember I said write your letters down. If you need to go X, X, Y, and then I have an X and a Y, let's figure out what do they share. Well, I did have 5 here and I had 30, right? Let's see what they share. Well, this has an X and this has an X. Well, I can only take one X on the outside. And let's look at the Y's. I have 1 on this term, but I also have 1 on this term. So this is my GCF, okay? If you need to write yourself a note, GCF, that's what this is. Now I need to find out what's left over. Well, if I divide this by 5xy, which is my GCF, my 5's cancel out and my leftover x's cancel out, right? Wait, hold on, let me think. X, I have 1, my x's cancel out, my y's cancel out, and I'm left over with my 1x. So my 1x goes inside here. Okay, if I do the same thing here, I'll do it over on the actual equation. If I divide by 5xy, okay, I'm going to see 30 divided by 5 is actually 6. And that's all that's left over because my x and my y's cancel out. Okay, so this is my final factored out equation. If I were to multiply everything out and I did 5x times x, I would get 5x squared y. If I did 5xy times 6, I would get 30xy. Oh, look at that. It matches the original equation. So we know we did this correctly. Yay. Okay. All right. See if you can go ahead and try the other equations. Again, talk to your neighbors because they are going to be able to help you. Okay. I will be back hopefully in the next 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes from now. And then I will be able to float around and help you guys. All right. See you guys soon. And if you have any questions, just like put a little circle or a star by the problem that you're struggling with.